Hi, welcome to Racehouse with me, Joe Lee.
And me, Darren Reeves.
It was the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku. I think it was a fantastic race. But first, the Monza recap, the review from last time. Leclerc won. That's the end of
Yeah,
that. Right. So,
let's take that
Azerbaijan. That's what happened. Check it out on YouTube. We're going to
on.
stick with reviews now, I think. Azerbaijan, look, I've always been compelled to go to this circuit. It looks phenomenal. You have this blend of history and a modern city emerging out of the Caucasus. And the weather was great. And we had a well-deserved win from Oscar Piastri, which I think really is his first win. I mean, it's 2 wins now, but this was his first real win, I felt, with, actually him leading, him taking Leclerc after Leclerc getting pole position. Um, it was all around an amazing weekend for McLaren, Darren.
Oscar Piastri thoroughly deserved this win today. I think he's been driving impeccably, to be honest with you, for probably since about the third or fourth race of the season. And if you look at the point scoring, he's actually outscored everybody in the last 7 races and would be leading the championship if it was just these 7 races. He's really, really emerging as something really special. As a Brit, there's a bit of me that goes, well, do we want that in McLaren? But McLaren right now have got 2 number 1 drivers. There's no doubt about it. And they've got to work together as a team, and they have been working together as a team. So today's win with Norris sort of going out in Q1, which was no fault of his own. He was really playing second fiddle to Piastri, but actually ran a brilliant race of his own. But Oscar today has definitely come of age. His manager Mark Webber, I think, has been fighting his corner massively for this equal number 1 status within McLaren, and McLaren, are just looking invincible. The way Piastri drove past Leclerc today at the end of the main straight, I just thought was one of the moves of the season, and that deserved the win. And
Super
Leclerc,
fast.
really fast. But Leclerc is driving magnificently too. So we're in a golden era of Formula One that doesn't include Max Verstappen. It's the strangest season.
It is strange. I was thinking that when I was watching this race, where is Max? I mean, McLaren after this weekend, they're now top of the Constructors' Championship. Lando is closing in on Max to perhaps win the Drivers' Championship. Piastri was told by McLaren to back Norris for the title bid. Obviously, that didn't work out on this race. Oscar went and kept his position and became first. But, Lando did get fastest lap. He came 4th in the end. Bit lucky because of the reasons on the last lap or penultimate lap, which we'll go into in a minute. But yeah, where is Max? I mean, the big news this week, and we haven't talked about it on a separate video, is that Adrian Newey is going to Aston Martin, which you called. You called that, Daz.
I called that quite a few months ago, didn't I? I just sensed. It was always Ferrari, Aston Martin, Ferrari, Aston Martin. I just felt Lawrence Stroll will do anything to get his man. He's giving away some of his company to get the man. Ferrari would never have done that. Also, Adrian Newey would have had to move to Italy. He doesn't seem that type of person, does he? He's quite an insular person. He's not really media friendly, but he is world class. He is the best person ever to design a Formula One car, and Aston Martin have their man. He did work for Aston Martin, didn't he, to do the Valkyrie, design the Valkyrie for them a one-off project. So there is history there, but I just can't believe that the move of Adrian Newey away from Red Bull and the demise of Red Bull this season from absolute invincibility. Is it a coincidence? Isn't it? I just can't work it out, really.
Is it a sinking ship, though? Is it a sinking ship? Is Max going to move to Mercedes next season?
Is Max going to move to Aston Martin? Who knows?
Well, it doesn't help Lance much. I mean, it's better to learn from an old legend on his way out than I don't know. Look at Perez. Hasn't really worked out for him being under Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrian Newey, to me, it was no surprise. I've been expecting it for months, this announcement. We've got it. I just can't wait to now watch this space for the car that they will have next season that he won't have been involved much in its design, but he will be involved in its development. But he will be starting from scratch next February when we can actually go there when his gardening leave finishes for Red Bull. The 2026 car, I think it's got to be they've got to be really excited and really positive about it, and everybody else should probably fear it. When it comes to the engines, they're going to have Honda engines, so they're taking essentially what Red Bull have had for the last few years, which is interesting. But all the talk for 2026 with these new engines that are 50-50 electric and combustion is Mercedes. So, and of course, McLaren, Williams, and Mercedes have those ones. So, whether we're talking power units, whether we're talking aerodynamics and car design, the whole thing about 2026 is looking unbelievably exciting. And you just think, oh, we can't wait. But we are experiencing right now one of the greatest second halves to a season I can remember.
Gonna be a great climax. It's
We,
gonna be a
uh,
great one.
we've got three teams that we watched a race today where we were watching a McLaren followed by a Ferrari followed by a Red Bull, and then we were watching Norris followed by Verstappen in the Red Bull followed by Sainz. And we've got these, but we also forget that we've also got Mercedes in there. Russell's just had a podium. We've got three teams, possibly four teams, where any Perez could have won that race today. I felt he was protecting his tyres to have an attack in the last,
Well,
the last few laps.
let's talk
Um,
about Perez. Perez, we
yeah,
got to lap 50, we crossed the finish line, and then he saw, let's have a go at Leclerc. It didn't quite work, but because he kind of went a bit wide and slowed down, Sainz managed to get past him. A brilliant overtake by Sainz. This
yeah,
looked like it could be a Ferrari 2-3. Fantastic. But then what happened? Perez really stayed behind him, shadowed him, and thought he could have him on that straight, that small straight. And then Sainz just drifted, I think. That's what happened. But Perez should have seen that happen because
yes,
he had the better line of sight. Sainz, and they collided, they crashed and went into the left side of the barrier. Sainz was like, what happened? I don't know what happened. And Perez was like, what? I
yeah.
think that was Perez's fault.
Perez had the DRS. He was alongside him, but Sainz had no vision whatsoever because
No.
Perez wasn't all the way alongside him. It was only half. And as Sainz drifted, he still left enough room. That was the other thing. But as Sainz drifted to the left, I thought Perez drifted into the right, and their wheels just seemed to lock really and push in to the barrier. But
Feels
it
like
was a bit.
Perez maintained his position. I think he maintained his central position, and kind of
Yeah.
signs just came across him. But we don't realize, but this it's like a letterbox view. That's what the drivers have. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, they've got mirrors, but like it's literally like a little letterbox. So I don't know. Very tough one for Sainz. Great race. Tough one for Perez. Those last laps, he was really, really doing well. And yeah, he was, obviously looking at a podium, but wasn't to be. And George Russell capitalized.
He certainly did. Perez is actually statistically the most successful driver at the Baku circuit so far, and he's won there as well. But he just seemed to come alive this weekend, and I think it might be circuit specific. But then he was ahead of Max as well, which we don't see that ever. But the whole weekend, Perez has been ahead of Max and performed better. So I feel sorry for Perez, but I do blame Perez and not Sainz for that. And Sainz with his, coming now, counting down the races in Ferrari, I feel a bit sorry for him. I think Sainz deserved a podium, but I also think Perez deserved a podium. Just Russell lucked in really, and he even said himself in the after race interview that we didn't do well enough today. I'll take the podium, but I didn't earn the podium. I lucked into it.
Well, someone who did earn some points today was Oliver Behrman.
Yes, he did. Now, he lucked in, to be fair, he lucked into 10th place because of the accident. I've loved seeing Behrman in the Haas this weekend. I'm a great K-Mag fan, okay? But if we look at Monza quickly, K-Mag earned 2 more points for crashing and it was it's an innocuous crash. Really, I think it was with Gasly. I can't remember now, but it was something and nothing. And I don't, but he'd locked his brakes. That he got 2 more points. He got a one race suspension. Behrman, whose car it is next year, comes in and goes and scores another point, which means he's now got 7 points to K-Mag's 6 in the World Championship. I think it's really exciting. You know what I'm like with rookies, mate. We need rookies in Formula One. And for us to start this season with no rookies, and now what we've actually experienced, with Behrman, and we'll talk about the other one in a minute. Well done, Haas. Well done, Behrman. You're in it, and you beat your teammate. For Behrman to go out and beat Hulkenberg, who I think is a fantastic driver, he deserves a podium one day, and hopefully we might see one in Audi. But Behrman, brilliant. But for me, it's the other rookie we need to talk about today.
Well, there was someone else that came 8th place, got 4 points, and who was that, Darren?
Is it Franco Colapinto? Is it?
Is it? I was like teeing you up for that.
Oh no, Franco Colapinto. You made me question it then. Yeah, Franco Colapinto, the Argentinian driver who's come in from F2 to replace Logan Sargent, who scored 1 point in his whole Williams career. He had all of last season. He scored 1 point. This season, he had 15 races. Didn't score 1 point. Colapinto, I actually predicted him in the last podcast that he'd score on his debut, but today here it is, 4 points. Who'd have thought that after after 2 races? Brilliant.
I think you should be like a rookie manager, or maybe you should be like the YTS youth training scheme, a scout or something. That kid's gonna do it. Yeah, put that kid in the thing.
Joe, what do you think I'm doing at karting weekends? I'm already doing it, mate.
Yeah, exactly. You're training your own. One.
I certainly am. And on that note, Joe, I'm going to throw it in there in a little shout out to Lucas, who in Heat 2 of his club karting championships down at Clay Pigeon in Dorset last week, qualified 4th in Heat 2 and drove round everybody by lap 3 and led the race for a considerable amount until the faster karts caught him up. He finished the weekend in 6th. He's 7th in the championship, mate. But absolutely amazing weekend we had. And so, mate, I'm already got my eyes on these drivers. There's somebody he races with who's just had a F4 test, and that is Emily Cotty, who is she's it's brilliant to see the girl drivers come in, and she's definitely one of the top drivers in the series that in Super 1 that Lucas raced in the National Series. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on in F4 next season and get some female drivers going in there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and people who are listening to the podcast may be not aware of the other formulas and leagues, shall we say. You've got Formula 4, 3, 2. I mean, today in Formula 2 we saw a huge crash. Actually, everyone's okay. Did you see that?
Yep, I did. Harrison came in this morning. I had a late night last night. My eldest son came in. Dad, there's been a big crash in Formula 2. I'm just going to put it on the TV. Come down. So I made myself a coffee, got down in front of the TV, and we actually watched the F2 feature race today. And we're trying to cheer on Kimi Antonelli, who I think came second in the end. But this tier of F4, F3, F2, F1, for me, it keeps changing over the years. But right now, we've got some really exciting drivers in there with Arthur Leclerc, Charles Leclerc's brother, races in F3, along with Juan Pablo Montoya's son. So they're in there. But watching F2, when I see the name Mansell, I'm like, oh, no, it's an Australian who's got nothing to do with
he's not. That's a shame.
But you know what? We're seeing more and more of F2 on the TV now, and it definitely is the feeder series, and you get to learn about the drivers a bit more. And it's the more you watch something, the more you buy into it, the more interesting it gets. But I'm looking into the business side of it all as now with Lucas, who's 14 and a half, and we're trying to work out how do you make this happen without having a rich father, a mega rich father, a billion.
Call Lawrence Stroll. Yeah, well, I mean,
I know that but this is the thing, and it is all about sponsorship. The sponsorship of motorsport. It's a very difficult business model for anybody to be able to do.
Well, if
And
you're out there and you're listening and you want to sponsor a future F1 driver, then do get in touch with us and I'll pass you on to Darren because you've got some sponsors already, and always looking for new sponsorship to take that to the next level. And
mate,
just think, you
exactly.
could be sponsoring the next big thing in Formula One. And
And
these rookies do have opportunities. I mean, look at Antonelli, he's off to Mercedes. He's going to
yeah,
take Lewis Hamilton's seat. This is incredible.
there's been amazing announcements this year, and we haven't seen Antonelli yet. I was expecting actually to see him in the Williams for the rest of this season as opposed to Colapinto. But James Vowles, I'm sure Toto Wolff was knocking on the door of his ex-employee, James Vowles. But James Vowles made the decision. I think he's a strong decision maker. And wow, what a great decision that was. 10 points for Williams today with Albon in seventh and Colapinto in eighth. Williams are great with top speeds. It's the slow corners and the aerodynamics, but they're a team for me that is emerging, and they've had a fantastic day today for sure. So
What do they do today? Just remind us.
well, that Colapinto qualified. They qualified ninth and 10th, I think, from what I can remember, and they finished seventh and eighth due to the crash at the end. So they were sort of held their positions really for qualifying to the race end, but they split their strategy with Albon doing a one stop and Colapinto coming in early. I'm actually not sure. No, they both did one stops in the end, but I found the strategies interesting today, Joe, because most people started on the medium tyres, and the ones that needed to gamble, like Norris, started on the hard tyres. So everybody comes in quite early, around lap 11 or 12, which was a two-stop strategy window, put hards on, but they watched Norris, and he stayed out, and he stayed out, and, we were now he'd done 40-odd laps on those hard tyres, and then set the fastest lap once Albon had set him free. So everybody could see that actually they didn't need two sets of hard tyres, and so in a way Lando undid his own brilliant strategy in a way, but came out really, really well from qualifying 17th, lucked into two places gained because of Gasly's disqualification in qualifying and Hamilton deciding to take a load of engine and MGU parts to take the hit now. So started from the pit lane. So he went from 15th, but drove one of the cleanest races. Wouldn't you say that I've seen? I thought it was in fact, it was a really clean race. No virtual safety cars, no nothing. And this race always has those.
Yeah, not to the end really. The last lap, and they finished the race under safety car or virtual safety
Joe,
car.
how did I miss that?
Yeah,
Of course
that was
I know there was a virtual safety car.
kind of a big one.
That's
kind of a biggie. Kind of a
soon,
biggie.
Oh mate! As soon as the race finished, as soon as the crash happened, the race finished for me. Even though I did get excited when I saw Max Verstappen had gone in the pits just before the virtual safety car to try and take the fastest lap away from Lando. So I thought that's interesting. And when he was in the pits, I was like, "Oh, this has all gone wrong for him." But
I got excited when I saw Naomi Campbell about to do the checkered flag, but then realised that she didn't be doing it under safety car, so she wouldn't get the full experience of it. But
I feel really sorry for her.
I feel sorry as well for Pierre Gasly. He was disqualified from qualifying for a fuel flow problem. We won't go into it too much, but that's one of these technical things, and you've got the FIA and the inspector scrutineers and all that kind of stuff looking at his cars the whole time, added pressure. But Hamilton as well had tons of upgrades, so Lewis also was he was docked plenty of places for that, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he took them. He qualified seventh, but I can understand it. He just went, let's do it now. Let's get it out the way. I get it. They've all got to do it at some point. It just staggers it out, but it just makes for even more exciting jeopardy and things going on.
Yeah,
and
it does.
But he struggled really. He didn't. He didn't push forward. He lucked into ninth place because of the
Hmm.
crash. He would have been 11th otherwise. But I thought he had a very average race, getting stuck in DRS trains. They extended the DRS, Joe, this year by 100 metres on the main start-finish straight. But it didn't really. I thought it had a much bigger effect than it actually did. There were times where people just breezed past, and there were times where people just couldn't get past at all, and
No.
especially Lando Norris with Albon, and it
Mm.
must be down to the power units.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's something they'll change back next year. I think they'll probably look at that and go, okay, did it really work? I agree. I didn't think it really worked. But when they showed on the live feed, just when they hit DRS, just how fast they start to close
Yeah.
is incredible. It's literally a bum, 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 bum. It makes such a difference by
They
reducing
were
that drag.
I think the fastest one was 22 kilometers per hour that Sainz had on Perez. Was the biggest speed differential between two
Yeah.
cars today. It was only mentioned in the commentary. I think that's what it was. But which is
Well,
a lot. That you imagine just being parked at
mm.
zero with somebody driving past at 22 kilometers an hour. It's you're going to pass them pretty quick.
Significant. It's significant. That was Baku. That was Azerbaijan. The review. Next week we've got Singapore. Now I thought
Yes.
we'd do a mini Singapore preview. Darren, you've been there to Singapore to the track. What can we expect from it next week?
Well, I walked around the track, Joe. I think it was probably the 30th of December 2023. So since the last race, I was there to do a New Year's Eve concert on Sentosa Island at the casino. So as soon as my wife came with me as well, and as soon as we landed, I said, "Right, come on, we're going to Marina Bay. We're going to walk around the track." I hadn't been to Singapore since 2004, so pre-Formula One era. So walking by I've got to remember the hotel now. I've stayed in it anyway. It doesn't matter where they had the bridge where Nelson Piquet Jr. crashed. Crashgate, the famous Flavio
Yeah, Flavio
Crashgate.
again. Yeah.
It's exciting. It's history, of Formula One. It's bits
But
like that.
is
So
it a fast track? I mean, do you think? I don't know if it's one of the fastest on the calendar. I mean, it seems like precision driving. I mean, it's all precision
yes,
driving, but it really is that thing. It's a night race. I find that so exciting. But we saw last time when George Russell just slammed straight into the
into the
barrier. He
barrier on
clipped the
yeah,
side. The last lap was it? I think
last lap. Yes, it was. Yeah,
chasing everyone,
but
Norris
but
and maybe Sainz. Yeah,
But Joe, it's such a spectacular setting with the Marina Bay Hotel,
it's
with the swimming
gorgeous.
pool on top, and the
Mm.
bridge and the fountain. For me, it's spectacular. I had a walk along the pit straight as well. It's all state of the art as we want Formula One to be now. And I can always remember Silverstone was falling behind, but that pit, garage is now just phenomenal. So I think you're right about precision driving. They don't, there are DRS straights, but it's nothing like we've seen in Azerbaijan, and we see at Silverstone. But it is, you said it's a night race. The lighting alone that it takes to light these tracks to do a nighttime race.
Mm.
We have one in Bahrain as well, as you know, Abu Dhabi as well.
Mhm.
Are there any others, Joe? Singapore, Bahrain, Abu Dhabi. I think that
Vegas,
might.
Vegas.
Ve- oh, come on, Vegas as well. I'm not on it today, Joe. So
Wow.
just that alone is so spectacular, and these cars under the lights and the way they shimmer and glisten
You
on
know,
the tele, it's just
I've got to
amazing.
tell I've got to tell you, being at a night race, I've been to Bahrain many times, Abu Dhabi many times. Um, it doesn't feel like a night race because these lights are
Yeah,
just like they are just like ridiculous field of dream stuff, like everywhere. The lights are so bright everywhere. It feels like daylight. it,
yeah,
it
it
really
does.
is. You're walking
It's
around everywhere. It doesn't feel particularly dark. Singapore somehow feels dark to me,
yeah. Well, I
which
think it is
is
later
great.
because I think with Bahrain and Abu Dhabi, they do it at dusk. Maybe
Mm.
Saudi as well. I think actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but Singapore does seem to be a night race, and it always encloses everything a bit more,
Yeah, the
and
big
and
heli
just make
shots as well. You have that
yeah,
contrast. It's
just
amazing.
makes it really really intense. But I just want to say when I was there, we got I got invited to go to the Botanic Gardens just across the water from the start finish straight, the big greenhouses that you see on the television. And it was the strangest thing. So basically, it's a tropical gardens. And so you go in thinking you're going to sweat. You walk in, it's freezing in there, and all the plants look like my garden here in England. It's it's the tropical bit for me was outside, and inside it was just like an English garden. It was so surreal, really funny. But if anybody gets to do it, go and do it, because it is just like walking around a garden centre in
talking
action.
of that, I mean, like, are you going to take Lucas out there? Are you going to take him over to Singapore? You know, do you think?
His sponsors might do to race a car, you know. So, but I've no plans on taking Lucas abroad until we start doing the European season. And yeah, we need a few more sponsors before that, and then getting to Asia and doing a World Series. That, you know, it's a long way off yet. But
would you say that he's got a lot to improve? Would you say that he's got a lot to?
It's opportunity for me. Racecraft, you know, it's 10,000 hours on a track. It doesn't matter if you're in a go-kart or a single-seater, Formula Ford, Formula 4, whatever the formulas are for, you know, and you've got the ones in Japan and so on. You just need track time. And right now, you know, what we're lacking is the ability to be able to do every weekend. He needs to be in that kart. If it's a test weekend or a club championship or whatever it is, you know, these drivers need to be in every weekend. We do every other weekend, and we're stretched even with the sponsorship. That's what it is, Joe. To be good at podcasts, you just have to do them every week, and you get better and better. And here we are, Joe. We're now well into our second year of podcasting. I don't know what episode number this is. Have you got any ideas?
2 million, I think. Yeah, it's trying to separate out your favorite child or something. Last question for you: who would you say is your favorite child? Who's the most talented child of your stable?
Well, it's really easy. When we're on a football pitch, it's my eldest. When we're on a track, it's my middle son, and my daughter is going to be an actress and be on the stage because she lies to me so well, and I believe every word of it. So,
well, that is the right answer, because we had a message from Lucas saying hi from all of us next door. So
that's amazing.
I did my best to get you into a trap, but that was fun. So you can say hi. That's your shout out to next door.
Oh man! So at least we've got at least 2 listeners there. That's so funny. But it shows that everything's working. Do you know what I mean? It's like a test. You know, get my kids to test all the the fact that we're actually going out to the world, even though they are next door with my father.
Well, that's good. Yes, and you're the perfect diplomat as well. Look, we've had a great race today. Azerbaijan, you know, it just didn't let us down. Really enjoyed that race. We're on to Singapore next week, where we'll do a review and then a preview for the next race. So please like and subscribe, all that jazz. And from now, it's goodbye from me, Joe Lee.
And it's goodbye from me, Darren Reeves. Take care.
Take care.